All aboard the Dogecoin Express. If you look to your left, you can see the sad crypto developers who have worked for years to be beat out by a meme. And then if you look to your right, you can see all the Fortune 500 companies that have smaller market caps than Doge, like eBay, HP Computers, and General Mills, who all have smaller market caps than Dogecoin. Now, I've been thinking about Dogecoin a lot the past couple days, and I think others have been in the same situation, just kind of like mystified with this thing. And I think that there's a few ideas that I could just go ahead and toss your way. Sorry for the hand movements. I could go ahead and toss your way, and this may help you better understand what could happen with Dogecoin. Of course, we don't know for sure, but I have some information that, just might be able to formulate a better overall picture. Now, if we look at Dogecoin, the first impressions, if we just take a look at their chart here, first impressions are, let me get myself out of the way. First impressions, we can see this kind of feels like a classic pump and dump. I mean, with a chart like that, it looks absolutely amazing, and we've yet to see a big correction after this major peak. And we're seeing trading volume of $71 billion in the last 24 hours. $71 billion, total market cap of $46 billion, and it's gone up 167% as of the recording of this. So in first impressions, it looks a little bit like a pump and dump. And also, if you are interested in buying Doge, if you don't know where to buy it, this is where I buy all my crypto. It's on this KuCoin exchange. You might want to hold off till the end of this video before you go ahead and make an account, but I'll have it linked in the description. The reason I like an exchange like this is because they allow you to buy like tons of different coins and you actually own it, unlike like a Robinhood or a Webull or something like that. We don't actually own the crypto. So that's something to consider. Links down in the description if you're interested. So it looks like a classic pump and dump first impressions, but if we think about this a little bit more, it could actually make sense. There's reason to believe that Doge could just simply get bigger and bigger because the intentions seem pure. I'm going to go into that more in just a second here. It started as a joke between two software engineers, Billy Marcus and Jackson Palmer, and it was built in about a week, supposedly. So there wasn't like a whole lot of forethought here. There was just a tweet by one of the developers and it was made, very shortly after that. And the reason it was able to be built so quickly is because it was based on existing code from Litecoin and LuckyCoin, but we're not going to get super into nitty-gritty details on this video. Now, I've seen many people recently say that Doge wasn't actually a joke. It never was a joke, and it definitely is, or at least it was. Here's a Reddit post from 5 years ago talking exactly about how it was a joke. And here is an article written by one of the founders talking about how it's a joke back in 2018. So it definitely at least started as a joke. And maybe it's not a joke now, but it started that way. Joke or not, Doge has been pretty popular ever since its launch in 2013. Even in the first month of launch, there were 1 million visitors to Dogecoin.com. And one thing that I've noticed is typically things that are very popular get popular right away because there's like this untapped need, or because it's just readily exciting or interesting right away, and Dogecoin is definitely the case there. Now back to what I mean about pure intentions. A major concern about small and new cryptocurrencies, new coins, is that they're simply a cash grab by whoever the founders are. It's pretty easy to rip off the code from another coin and try to just pump this thing, hold a bunch of coin yourself, and then just sell off and make a little cash grab. We saw this a lot back in 2017. But the fact that one of the founders, Billy Marcus, said that he sold all of his Dogecoin back in 2015 for, quote, the equivalent of a used Honda Civic, and the other founder, Jackson Palmer, said he owns less than $50 worth of Dogecoin as of 2018, kind of makes you feel a little bit more comfortable about this, with the fact that this was a joke and the founders really aren't benefiting much from this. It feels a little bit more pure. And this makes me wonder if it actually gives the coin more credibility. I mean, the tech is there, it's built off of existing and popular crypto code. And like Elon Musk has now famously said, quote, arguably the most entertaining outcome and the most ironic outcome would be that Dogecoin becomes the currency of the earth for the future. So, I mean, it kind of would make sense. Like, it almost would be like the human thing to do, to choose the most ironic and least likely option to become the option. In a way, the credibility aspect kind of reminds me of Bitcoin with its unknown, almost like philanthropic founder Satoshi Nakamoto, who just blessed the world with Bitcoin and is just like, here's Bitcoin. Let me just go ahead and make the world better. Has never gone public on who he is and reportedly hasn't sold his more than $50 billion worth of Bitcoin. It kind of reminds me a little bit of that. Bitcoin would have probably taken a much different path if it weren't for its founder doing this. And we can't like look to the founder and be like, oh, this guy is this way or that way, and then judge Bitcoin based on it, because no one knows who he is. Even like the early Bitcoiners don't know who he is. But of course, we need to remember to check our confirmation biases, because it's really easy in hindsight to just go ahead and try to connect dots that make sense in present day. You know, any coin in this position, we could probably connect some dots and say, hey, this makes sense because of X, Y, and Z. But I just want to kind of get the gears turning a little bit as to why this could make sense. If I'm not saying put all your savings into Dogecoin, I'm just giving you some things to consider. There are 100% risks here. Of course, none of this is financial advice. And also, there's something I want to point out, that there are other big things in history that started as jokes and turned into big, serious events or enterprises. I mean, a perfect example is Facebook. Facebook started as Face Smash, which was basically just like this hot or not game that Zuckerberg made that was super popular right away. And then they were like, hey, this could be something. Let's make a little bit more mature version and turn it into Facebook. And now it's one of the biggest companies in the whole world. And I'm sure there are other examples of jokes turning into big things that you guys can leave down in the comments, but it wouldn't be the first time that a joke turned into something huge. I mean, it's already huge, but like the biggest. Beyond this, there's other reasons why it could just get bigger and bigger. I mean, it's easy to remember, and it has like the perfect viral aspect built into it. I mean, what's more fun to talk about than a joke that just made you $1,000 or $10,000? I mean, there's nothing you want to talk about more than something silly that just made you 10,000 bucks. It's easy to remember, and more people are talking about it. So now the question that we're left with is, what happens next? And of course, I don't know exactly what's going to happen next, but I can kind of make an educated guess. And here's what I think. I think Dogecoin's popularity is still growing. There's no doubt that there are people who have never heard of this thing, never heard of it before today, and they're buying it today. And I think that's going to continue for a while. We can kind of get a little bit of an idea here if we look at Google Trends. So let me pull up Google Trends here. And we can see the red is Bitcoin, yellow is Ethereum, and blue is Dogecoin. So the history, the popularity over time spiked for Dogecoin in between January 24th and January 30th of 2021. Coincidentally, it was more popular than Bitcoin in that short period of time, has gone down and is now seeing a spike. So we're not even close to its peak popularity right now, and it's starting to trend upwards. And we're kind of at a tipping point here. Like right now, Dogecoin is being bought by people who maybe aren't like regular investors. They're people who are familiar with investing. Maybe they have a Robinhood app. They got a couple $100 in there, but they're like, Dogecoin is this funny thing. Let me go ahead and throw $50 in there. But we're not to the point where it's like your grandma is calling you and asking you how to buy Dogecoin. And I think we're kind of on a tipping point here as to whether that happens or not. And if that happens, I mean, once you start getting calls from your weird uncle who you haven't talked to in 15 years about how to buy Dogecoin, that's probably when you want to consider at least selling part of your position, because that means the masses, the absolute masses are buying in, and that's when things, correct in a big way. But there's really three most likely scenarios that I see happening from here. The most exciting one of the three scenarios is the price continues to go up and up and up as people learn more about this, and they just want to ride the ride, kind of like Bitcoin in 2017. Your grandma's calling you excited about Bitcoin. Your landscaper talks about how he just put his last week's paycheck into Bitcoin. That's the kind of the ride kind of scenario. That'd be the most exciting one, where it just goes up another 500% or just something insane. The second scenario would be it corrects a bit from where we're at now, maybe 20 to 50%, but then we're left with a higher low price than before, like a new low level where it'll sit at, and then probably see some more popularity in the future. That one seems very likely to me, that there's some kind of correction and then a new low point is set, and then depending on popularity, it may trend up in a more consistent manner instead of like a 200% increase in one day. And then the third scenario would be the price drops right back down to where it was 2 weeks ago. But I believe that that's probably the most unlikely scenario here. Now, with just more people knowing about Dogecoin, having their money in there, I think the odds of there being a sell-off all the way back down are pretty unlikely. There's a lot of people who, they throw $100 in. If it went down to $20, they're just never going to pull it out. They'll just leave it in there. There's a lot of money like that I think it's just going to set a new level is the most likely scenario here. Now, what if you're curious about Doge? If it's for a long-term hold, like if you're like, I think that this is the future and you want to do some kind of long-term hold here, it's probably best to let the dust settle a little bit and maybe do some kind of dollar cost average if you really want to get in right now. Let's say you want to invest $1,000 into Dogecoin. It may be a smart way to do it. Of course, this isn't financial advice. It may be a smart way to do it to, put in $10 a day for a period of days, or $50 a day for a period of days to dollar cost average. That way you're not going to be the victim of any huge price swing. Like you buy right now, it corrects 40% and your $1,000 just turned into 600. So if you're going long-term, maybe try to do some kind of dollar cost average. That's typically the smartest way to do that kind of thing for long-term buys. Now, what if you already made a ton of money off of your Doge holding? Maybe you're up $20,000 or something like that, and that's a life-changing amount of money for you. Maybe it's time to consider selling off a little bit of your portion. I wouldn't blame anyone for doing that. You have to sometimes think of yourself a little bit. I know there's going to be a few people who are mad that I even brought that up, but just be considerate of what may happen if it drops back down is all I have to say. So overall, this is a very, very exciting story. Just like Elon says, sometimes the most ironic outcome is the one that becomes the standard. And I mean, we'll see. We shall see. That's all I have to say. So thanks for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.